we'll see that we got our red heading, but the script tag and that sort of thing was stripped out. So we just have that span tag content in red here. So, okay, the other thing I wanted to show you is the security runtime engine. This is basically a way where we can modify the web.config file to prevent cross-site scripting, which is really cool. This would be really useful for things like applications that you don't have the source code for, or things that you can't, something that's a vendor application. And so this is another trick or tool that you can use. Now it has a second. Okay, it has a kind of a GUI where you can go ahead and create a web.config file that kind of focuses on the different controls available in .NET. What I'm going to actually do is open one that's already created because it'll be a lot easier to see. In this case, I just have that label control set up in my web.config file for this application. And you can use this, tool to basically select the control, the .NET control you want. And you can come over here and choose the property name that you want to encode, and you can choose things like HTML encode, or you can go ahead and sanitize it, the safe HTML method call. You can do XML encode, URL encode, that sort of thing, based on what's important in your application. So in this case, I'm actually going to use the HTML encode method, and I'm not actually going to save this just because I'm doing it manually. This is what it ends up looking like in the web.config file, if you can see that. And then I'm going to verify my cross-site scripting vulnerability is actually there, and it is. So we have that line where we encode the HTML turned off or commented out, and you'll see if we go ahead and refresh, we actually correctly HTML encode. Just a second, it doesn't look right for some reason. Well, anyway, we actually HTML encode that content. Something's not right there, but you get the idea. Using the web.config file, we can go ahead and say that we want to HTML code all the label controls text properties without actually writing any sort of actual code. Just go back to the presentation. There's a number of other demos that I'll show you guys afterwards, but I'm starting to run out of time, so I'm going to kind of skip ahead. Okay, there we go. So the key takeaways as far as how to make STL Agile manageable is we need to educate our development teams as far as what application security is all about, what's important, what is cross-site scripting, SQL injection, all those typical things. We also need to educate them against things like secure coding standards. What's the proper way of doing an SQL query? What's the proper way of handling untrusted user input in the presentation layer? We need to write secure coding standards so folks can remediate things successfully according to the organizational standards. And then the other really big thing is we have to automate and use tools in Agile environments. That way we can reduce the effort teams need to do security and can focus on developing user stories. One thing I want to point out is automation can't do everything. In a lot of cases, automation isn't going to get things like authentication vulnerabilities, business logic flaws, things like that. The same stuff that code review tools and pen testing tools have trouble with as well. So in some cases, manual security activities will be needed, maybe every couple iterations, or maybe on a scheduled basis, or maybe it's something that you outsource to your internal security team and then hand over the results. The other part is we have to make sure that this process is repeatable and mature. We need to do kind of the same thing every single sprint. And it's really good to kind of start with one team, kind of develop the guidance for the organization, and then start to share it with other teams. In a lot of cases, I see organizations where one or two teams do a really great job of secure software development, and the other teams have absolutely no clue. There's no communication between them. They don't have any sort of formalized process, and so they can't really benefit as an organization based on the activities of one team. And let's see, do I have time for questions? Not really. Thank you for your time. I'm going to stick around for questions if you'd like, and I appreciate you guys coming to my presentation.